What's up guys, Annie Cooper here and welcome to today's video. In this video, I'm gonna be sharing with you my top tips to get shredded for summer. Number one, develop a routine. You will not be able to get to where you wanna be without a routine in place. And what I mean by that is developing a strength training and cardio routine that you can do weekly in order to track your progress and make sure that you're sticking to exactly what you set out to do to reach your goal in the quickest way possible. I think the mistake a lot of people make is not going heavy enough. They think in order to lose body fat and lose weight in the quickest way, you need to cut down the weight that you're using on lifts and you need to do higher reps and very lightweight and just move quickly and do a lot of cardio to lose weight. Yes, you can lose weight that way, but you are not gonna achieve kind of like that low body fat muscle tone look without still lifting heavy. You wanna maintain the muscle you have, and the issue is that when you are eating less than what you're burning, which you typically need to do on a diet plan, you are gonna have a harder time maintaining that muscle. So you have to make sure that you're eating enough and eating enough protein in order to still maintain that muscle and get that toned look that you're going for. My recommendation on a solid workout routine, which I will put up here, is something like this. So on Monday, you could do something like legs and cardio. Tuesday, you could do an upper body day, shoulders, back, chest, arms with cardio. Wednesday, you could do something like a full body day, maybe circuit training, move quick, kind of do a little bit of everything, add in some core and really keep the pace up on this workout, keep your heart rate up. Thursday, you could go back to a leg day. And Friday, you could do another upper body day lift. Saturday and Sunday, depending on how you feel, take those 2 days off, or one of those days I recommend doing maybe like an active recovery day, so some sort of light, steady state cardio, and then Sunday take off or vice versa, so that you still have that rest day. You do not want to be super inflamed by overtraining because you will look heavier than you actually are if you do not take days off. Every single week, you want to stay consistent with this workout routine so you can really track how you're doing. Take progress pictures every single week and take your weight to really make sure that you are measuring your progress every single week. Get a second eye if you want to, a coach or a trainer that can kind of look at it and assess it for you, so that way you can adjust the training as needed. But do not think you're going to make progress and see the definition that you want within 3 weeks. It's going to take a lot longer than that. I always recommend any type of cut, depending on where you're starting, of course, but give yourself at least a minimum of 8 weeks of being extremely consistent with a plan in order to actually see some results. One thing that you can do during your workout routines is shorten your rest time. So you're still lifting heavy, you're still doing all these compound movements, but you're shortening the rest time in between to kind of keep your heart rate up and keep that calorie burn going. So you can start supersetting things. For example, you do squats, you do leg raises in between, you're doing walking lunges, you're doing jumping lunges in between, something like that to kind of keep things moving and keep the calorie burn up. Now, when it comes to cardio, I recommend a mix of high intensity and steady state cardio. You don't need to do HIIT every single day. And also you're gonna be inflamed and not able to recover by doing that. So I recommend doing high intensity stuff maybe 2 to 3 times a week. The rest of the day is steady state. And again, think of cardio as a tool when it comes to a fat loss phase or a cutting phase. It doesn't need to be overkill. That's where the lifting and the diet comes first. Cardio is a tool to help you get to where you wanna be. So use that last. But I recommend starting with maybe 3 days a week of that, 4 days a week, and then see how you're doing with these progress check-ins every week and kind of adjust yourself for that. The next thing obviously is diet. I recommend cooking your own food as much as possible and limiting eating out. The reason for this is because that way you'll know exactly what you're eating, exactly what's going into it, your calorie numbers, your macronutrient numbers, to make sure that you're eating enough. You're not eating too little, but you're eating just the right amount for your body in order to get you to where you want to be. When you eat out, you really don't know what's in there. You don't know what oils they're using, the butter, the sauces, whatever the case may be. So it's very hard to gauge what you're actually consuming if you are eating out a lot. So the second thing, or the third thing I should say, is cook your own food. The next thing when it comes to dieting is increasing your protein intake. Now, protein is one of those macronutrients that will keep you fuller for longer, it will help you recover, it will help you retain that muscle mass, and it will give you the amino acids that your body needs. The next thing is kind of playing around with your carbs and fats. I do always recommend tracking your macros because just tracking your calories is not really the best way to go about it. You want to make sure you're getting enough protein, and then you're kind of playing around with your carbs and fats. Some people respond better to carbs, some people respond better to fats. So this really just depends on the person, your training, your body type, and all of those things to kind of figure that out. So it is important to track your macros and not just calories. However, your macros do make up your calories. So one thing you can do is start measuring your food or weighing out your food for things that you're not sure of. For example, like if you're eating something like salmon or avocado or something like that, nuts that are very high in calories, I recommend measuring those and making sure that you're not overeating them or undereating them. You're kind of getting, the right amount that you need. And the next thing is increasing your fiber intake. Now, fiber is another macronutrient that will keep you fuller longer. You always hear these things about high volume meals. That's typically meals that are higher in fiber and you get more for it for the same amount of calories. So for example, having a big stir fry, a bunch of vegetables and rice and protein and things like that, where it comes out to being this like giant bowl, but it's actually not a lot of calories, where you could have like a tiny burger for the same amount of calories as that. I'm using a burger as an example, but you know what I mean. The next thing is increasing your water intake. Now again, when it comes to cravings and staying full, staying hydrated, which is very important for bloating and energy levels, you wanna make sure you're having enough water. So I recommend having at least 2 to 3 liters of water daily. If you're someone that sweats a lot, you're outside a lot in the heat, maybe closer to a gallon would work better for you. The next thing is to increase your NEAT, which is basically your non-exercise activity. So what are you doing outside of your workouts? Are you sitting all day? If you are someone like that, I recommend trying your absolute best to take walks during the day, stand as much as possible, go up the stairs more, increase the activity around your workouts to make sure that you're continuously burning a little bit more calories and you're getting that movement in within the day. This helps so much. I always tell my clients, like for someone like me, I'm a personal trainer, I'm on my feet all day, I'm moving, I'm lifting things. I really don't need to actually be as restrictive with my food just because all day I'm moving and then I'm working out, I'm running. For someone that has a desk job or you're sitting most of the day and then you're just getting that like 30 or 45 minutes to work out, you have to be a little bit more strict on your diet just because you are not moving enough and you're not burning as many calories throughout the day. So keep in mind how important that is. And there's a difference between cardio and movement, I always say. So when people are, tracking their steps and stuff like that, that's great. I consider that movement, that's extra. But when you're doing actual cardio, make that intense, get your heart rate up, sweat, that is your cardio. So make sure that you understand the difference between those two. Alcohol and sugar are probably the worst 2 things that you can consume when it comes to trying to lose body fat and lose weight. Those are your 2 worst enemies. Yes, you can still have some balance. I always preach balance. However, when you're in some type of dieting phase, you're trying to lose body fat, you're trying to do this in a quick way, there comes a point when you don't have as much balance. And unfortunately, that's just how it is. You need to be strict on yourself for this certain period of time to get to where you wanna be. Once you reach your goal, cool, amazing, you can kind of back off a little bit and have maybe a little bit more balance. But the balance thing goes out the window a little bit, and I'll be honest, when you do have some sort of goal set in mind that you want to achieve quick. So limit your sugar intake, limit your alcohol intake as much as possible, and make sure that you are being strict on yourself with this plan that you set in place. The next thing is mindless snacking and mindless eating. You really want to make sure that you're not doing things and randomly snacking and watching TV and on the computer while you're eating. Try to really be in tune with what you're having. Eat slowly, chew your food, make sure that you really are paying attention to eating. This is very hard to do sometimes for a lot of us. I think we are all kind of, the thing of watching TV and with friends is normalized, obviously when you're eating, and that's fine, but it's just when it comes to dieting, you don't want to be distracted when you're eating, and then we always feel like we need more after that. And that's what happens a lot of the time with dinner when you're just like, with your family or watching TV and you're eating, you don't even think about it and you want more after. So try to really pay attention, eat slow when you're eating your meals, and it will help you a ton. The next thing is make sure you are recovering properly. Again, what I just talked about with inflammation, you can get inflamed to the point where you will look about 7 to 8 pounds heavier than you actually are just from being inflamed. So do your cold plunges, say no to inflammation, make sure you're sleeping enough and recovering. Try to incorporate fun things that you love that will not feel like working out, because when it comes to a dieting phase, it gets boring and just redundant and like you start hating it after a while. That's just the facts. Start incorporating fun sports, paddleboarding, tennis, kickball, whatever the case may be, to kind of get yourself moving, and it doesn't really feel like working out, but you're still kind of doing something fun, you're getting movement in, you're burning calories. All of those things are super important. Now, intermittent fasting is a huge question. I always like this during a dieting phase, is to do intermittent fasting just because you can eat more within a shorter window. So basically stopping eating at like 8 p.m. and then you eat again at like 11 or noon. And this helps a lot just because you're fasting, you can have maybe some black coffee, some tea, some water, you're filling up on the fluids, and then you can actually have your meals in a shorter period of time. And I find that it works way better for me just because you're fuller and you are kind of like not getting to the point of, oh my God, I'm starving in between meals, which sucks when you're dieting because obviously you are eating in a calorie deficit and you will be a little bit hungrier than normal. So spacing out your meals too much can kind of lead to too much of hunger to where you're just like, oh my God, I can't wait for this next meal. And the last thing is be super patient. This is a process. It takes some time. Get a second eye, get someone to push you like a trainer or a coach to keep you accountable, but you have to be consistent. You can't be 4 days on, 3 days off on the weekends and expect yourself to make progress. You can maintain that way, but you will not continue to grow and make progress if you are only doing good for half of the week. Let's be honest. So stick to these tips, and I wish you guys the absolute best of luck. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and comment below what you want to see next and maybe what some of your fitness goals are, and we can get moving on those and I'll help you out.